Hey guys, welcome back once again here to the hillside, and today I'm going to show you guys how to propagate this plant known as the Swiss cheese plant, or officially the Monstera adansonii. These leaves, as you can tell, have this nice holes developing in it. This is such an awesome plant. So if you've kind of followed along with the houseplant kind of craze that's going on right now, you'll know that some of these plants are getting outrageously expensive. I've seen where you can buy just a single leaf cutting may cost you $2, $3, $4, or even $1,000 for some of these plants, which is insane. This plant, however, is not that expensive. It's not that rare. However, it's just not super cheap for that matter. So if you can make more plants for free, why wouldn't you? Let me show you how it's done. All right, get in here close, guys, and I'll show you how. Okay, so if you watched my previous video on aerial roots, you'll know that the philodendron species in general does the aerial root quite frequently, and that's because in the jungle habitat in which they're from, they'll actually aerial root down to the ground or into a tree, which helps prop them up, which gives them support to climb up into the tree canopy. So if you look down here really closely, down in here to this to the core of this plant here, you can see all these right here, guys. These are the aerial roots. Okay, and some of them has even left the plant or actually anchored themselves into the ground, which is really cool if you look at it. It's just kind of that tropical feel when you think about, you know, those old tropical jungles with big roots, you know, anchored into the ground with these big trees and things like that. Anyhow, when you have the plant that's this healthy and doing just great like this, these aerial roots, what you need to look for when you decide where you're going to cut in order to propagate this plant going forward. So let me go ahead and demonstrate how I'm going to do this really simply. Now, if you see right here on this plant right here, you see right here where my finger is, I've already taken a cutting right here and it's already kind of healed back, and more of the aerial root is kind of coming back like this. That's what you want to see. Right here, this is an aerial root that basically just died. Okay, it didn't, for whatever reason, it did not take, which is okay. This right here is what you're looking for when you want to propagate this Swiss cheese plant, as it were. So what you need to do, guys, get yourself just a pair of scissors or some kind of something sharp, and you're going to just cut. So let me go ahead and get in close here again, and I'll show you how it's done. All right, so I've chosen this vine, this portion of the plant here, for several reasons. One, there's a nice strong aerial root here, and one coming through right here. There are actually three right here just forming, and one large one back here. So I'm actually going to make this into 3 cuttings. Very simply, you just get something really sharp, very sharp. You don't want to make any kind of jagged cuts or anything that could scar the plant or leave a nasty wound where an infection or fungus or something could get into. And I want to get in here as close as I can. I'm just going to cut like that. Very gently pull this thing out here. And that's one thing I do notice about this plant that I do not like. Look at this right here. This plant, because it goes through these holes, these plants will become intertangled like this, and it's impossible to take this out, guys. So I'm just going to have to pull this apart just like that to get it out. So that's one thing to watch out for. Now, what I have here is this piece of the plant. All right, and as you can see, the growing aerial roots right there. So what I want you to make sure you do when you get this is you're going to have to actually make sure that you have enough of the stem along with the root so that you can actually, you know, have something that's going to grow. Now, I've seen other people, other tutorials where they're going to want you to cut every single little node along the way to try to maximize your production of propagation, which is fine if that's what you want to do. It's going to take longer because the plant's not going to have as much energy stored up from that one little growing tip right there. It's going to take it a while to catch up. Now what you could do is you could probably cut right here. If you wanted to, just cut this off just to leave these 3 pieces and put that into the potting medium. It's going to give you 3 growing points, which is be fantastic. And out here on the end, where it's growing like that, you might want to just cut this off. You can actually put this into water. Okay, this goes into the water, and it's going to eventually produce more roots out here. I don't typically do that. I think it takes a long time, and quite frankly, the water, if you don't change it enough, it gets kind of nasty and maybe it kind of rots. So I haven't had as much success with that, but I guarantee you, I'll show you some of my successes here in a second of pruning it and how I divide it this way. So what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to pick right here, up close against this plant, snip it off there. And these things are pretty cool. These are plant things. plant shears, definitely get you some of those. Those are actually pretty handy. They get in really tight spots. So this cutting here, I guarantee you 100% that's going to root. That's going to be fantastic. Okay, that's going to be one nice healthy plant for you right there coming up. And this one right here, like I mentioned, this is where a previous cutting was already made, so the growing tip is not going to extend any farther that way. Now if it was a fresh vine that has not been pruned yet before, and this is a actively live growing tip, I would cut it off right there so that the plant is not trying to continuously grow. It's actually going to focus on establishing itself back here and then regenerating and growing possibly along the stem as well. Okay, so this is what I would do for this one cutting, and I have this cutting here. So let me go ahead and show you some of my successes about how I've done this to show you how well it works, and then I'll show you how to pot this up, and we'll wrap up this video, guys. All right, so let's check it out. Come on. All right, now I said it was easy. Here are the results. Okay, I did this probably a couple months ago. This plant has completely established. It's rooted in well. It's putting on new growth in all directions. I mean, there you go. This plant, well, like I said, this is one case that had multiple aerial roots on it. Here's a plant right here growing. Here's one here growing. And this is a new shoot that is actually extended off the end of the plant. That's growing as well. If you wanted to get this plant bigger, you could actually dig it up, and then you'd be able to have enough roots so you can cut it off and divide that into more plants. Always good to have free plants, especially when they are expensive. This right here, this was actually taken I think a week or two ago, and it's already putting on a brand new leaf right here. It's about to uncurl. That's promising. And this one here, this was an experiment with the long stem with the growing tip still attached. So it did do well. It took a while for it to establish. And it's kind of in a weird shape the way the cutting was forced into this pot, but it's fine. This plant's going to keep growing. And this one right here is doing the same. This is healthy, lush, awesome growth. Okay, now so a note about the culture and the care of these plants. They need high humidity. Okay, more likely than not, you're going to kill this plant from having too dry of air. Okay, our houses with forced air, whether it be for gas or electric, it doesn't matter. Your house is super dry in the wintertime, and even in the summer for that matter. So I recommend, well, I don't even recommend, you have to. If you want these to be successful, you need a humidifier, which I have here, which kind of blows in this whole area of the plant room here. I also have a spray bottle, standby. Spray bottle, and I will mist these plants 2, maybe 3 times a day if I'm able to, early, at least in the morning and the evening, to keep the humidity up around them. And on the note of that, I use only rainwater. These are tropical rainforest plants. Our industrial tap water is full of chemicals. These plants are much healthier because I don't use tap water on them. There are micronutrients and nitrogen and things like this in the rainwater that is going to benefit your house plants in general, but these plants specifically. And the third thing, right behind me, you see this here, this little greenhouse. Okay, this greenhouse is where I do all my propagation of tropicals, plants that just need a really high humid environment. These plants have been in there since the first minute I took the cuttings on them. Right now I got a little humidity and temperature meter here, and it's 87% humidity at 71 degrees inside this greenhouse, which is fantastic. Like I said, keep it humid, keep them moist, but not saturated. They don't want to be dried out. Think tropical rainforest on the floor, okay? It's going to rain a lot, it's going to be moist, and stays humid. Plants are going to do just fine, okay? So let's go ahead and pot these cuttings up, and I'll show you the next step in showing you how to propagate your own Swiss cheese plants for practically nothing, multiplying this amazing plant, which is not cheap. Not cheap as far as house plants go. I mean, there are some that are really expensive. This is not there, but again, why pay for a plant when you can propagate it easily for free, right? All right, so let's go ahead and pot it up. I'm going to show you what the next step is. All right, so first off, let's talk about growing medium. Okay, I need you guys to use at least a 50% peat and about 50% just regular typical potting soil, okay? I will also add some vermiculite to kind of make sure this doesn't stay compacted, because you don't want, like I said, these plants are sort of finicky. They want to be moist, not soggy. If you have too much of heavy, soil, they're going to get waterlogged, and you can lead to rot and killing your plants off. So like I said, this is about 50% peat. There's some sand in here as well, some perlite that I added, and some just seed starting soil as well. So it's a really nice, fluffy, crumbly soil, okay? So like I said, guys, this is not difficult. The hardest part is knowing where to make your cuttings at. Planting them up couldn't be easier, okay? I mean, so it's basically you're going to go ahead and put some dirt into a pot. I mean, this is high level stuff, right guys? Making a giant mess, that's okay. It's okay. You're not making a mess, you're not getting dirty, you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong, right? I've said that time and time again, and I mean it. It's just a little bit of dirt, you can clean it up. Anyhow, now here's the important part. Your aerial roots, you don't want to break them off, okay? This is the part you need to be very, very gently on. So what I like to do is just kind of size it up in the pot. I'm going to try to see where they would line up. Okay, so right here is where this aerial root's going to go. I'm going to go ahead and make some holes here. And just a little bit more. This is a really long root. There we go. And that is where it's sitting, basically firm and flush there. And you don't really want to bury your stems per se, but you do want to cover them up a little bit to make sure that, you know, it's just going to stabilize the plants until the roots can actually, you know, start growing and providing that level of support that the plants will need to continue along the way. So there you go. This is how you do it. It's that simple, okay? You just made a new plant, and within a few months, I mean, it's gonna take a while to get to this size, right? But look at this. This was free. You can add it to this collection over here of the other plants I've already propagated, and just put it back, like I said, in a little greenhouse or someplace very humid. Don't have it in bright, direct light. You don't want to put it in a windowsill. Too much light is going to burn the leaves. Again, not good. So indirect light, high humidity, above 50%. Like I said, I kind of try to keep it around 70 to 80 inside this little miniature greenhouse, which I will actually go in through in the morning, evenings, and just mist the entire greenhouse, all the plants inside. Keeps it nice, humid in there. These plants just do fantastic, okay? It's really inexpensive to do something like this. It doesn't take up very much space at all. If you're going to propagate tropical plants like this, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Alright guys, it's that simple to propagate your own Monstera adansonii, the Swiss cheese plant. This plant is beautiful. I love all these aerial roots on it. It's one of my favorite, you know, features of a plant. Just aerial roots just says something about, oh, this is a jungle plant. You know, it's just something that sticks in my head. I just love the draping, you know, flowing nature of this plant. Now in nature it's going to want to climb up a tree like this, and the aerial roots are actually what's going to grab onto a tree and as it climbs itself up into the canopy, which you know, it's really not feasible for where I'm at right here in this place. So I do have it in the original nursery pot on this hook, and it actually sits up and it trails down, which is pretty cool anyhow, because that's just a nice feature over here in the plant room corner. So there you go. It's that simple. You guys don't be afraid to try. And worst case scenario, if one of your cuttings doesn't make it, I mean, there are so many other growing points in this with more roots that you can just try again, okay? That's how we learn. It's how we have fun. So get out there, grow something, and have a nice day, guys. I'll see you next time here on the hillside. Bye-bye.